Hey guys, I'm April from Giggle Glitter Graphics, and today I'm assembling my Cottage Life folio. This folio comes with several foldouts as well as a bunch of ephemera to pack inside of it. There's a bunch of little pieces here. Give them a quick shuffle. There are instructions on all of the pages on how to print them, recommendations for what to print on the back of each piece. So if you just go through and follow those instructions, you will have a setup just like mine. I'm going to start by assembling the base of the folio. I've got a front and back panel as well as a flap here. I'm going to put all the rest of this off to the side. I've already folded everything with a scoreboard. If you don't have a scoreboard, you can use a ruler and maybe something like the unserrated edge of a butter knife, or just gently and carefully fold along the lines. I tried to make it very clear where to fold these. There's different patterns that you kind of just fold. There's a little line along there. This spine is pretty obvious, and then this one, there's a little line where this lace goes. You're going to fold right along that. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab, this is the back panel, and I'm going to glue all of these tabs down. This is going to add some sturdiness to the folio. It's a little better than just going without these little tabs. I'm using Beacon Fabri-Tac to glue this down. You could use a glue stick or your glue of choice. I like this because it dries very quickly. The glue stick worked pretty well when I was quickly putting together my test pieces. So you could possibly do this with a glue stick, but I feel like I get a little bit better adhesion and less curling with the Fabri-Tac. If you do use a glue stick, I recommend the Uhu glue stick. I like this one. All right, I've glued all the tabs on my back panel, and I'm just going to press those down firmly. You definitely want to score and fold all this before you start doing this part. It'll make it a lot faster and a lot easier and a lot neater. All right, and there is the back panel. I didn't distress ink around this part yet, as well as the front. I'll probably hit those whenever I finish the project. I'll just give it a quick ink around the edge. For the front panel, we're going to go a little differently. We're only going to fold and glue these three sides. The side attached to this little spine, this tab we are not going to glue down. It's what's going to create the hinge for this part of the folio. So just these three, 1, 2, 3, not the part attached to the spine. If you find that your folds are not going down neatly enough, use a bone folder and kind of crease it. I creased everything really well before I started, and everything is laying very nicely. I'm happy with that. And I'm just smoothing the glue out and towards the edges with my fingers. All right, I got myself turned around and misspoke. This is the front of the folio, this is the back. I'll try to put a little caption earlier in the video to clarify that. But moving on, I'm just going to glue this tab right to the back of this, like this. So flip this over, overlap the tab right over the other tabs, and glue it down. I'm going to make sure it's all lined up. And then it folds nicely and makes kind of a book shape. I'm now going to do the same thing with this little flap. I have another tab here. It's going to glue right like that so that it creates a fold over like that. So I'm going to glue along this edge. I've got the right side up, decorated side up. I'm just going to generously glue all along here and place it like so. And again, I want to line this up so that it's nice and neat and everything folds freely. There we go. And that is the outer shell of the folio. Now I'm going to move to the inside. The left-hand side of this folio has a flip up. That's this panel here. It's printed on the back with, I believe, paper B. It's marked on the page what to print on the back side. And there is a tab at the top, which I've already pre-folded, just like we did the other hinges. You're going to want to make sure you center this up on the front panel so that it fits nicely. I'm going to glue on this side. Place it right on here. Whoops. And then I'll kind of slide it around until I gotta find my hinge. There's my hinge. You have a little bit of room to work with, and then fold it down and make sure it's even, that it's all the way to the top of the folio. So it doesn't poke over the top, but it's not down below either. And be careful pressing down. You don't want to get glue on this surface here that's coming out from under the tab. Now we're going to cover up the insides. There are 2 panels that are going to glue in right over the front and back covers. So I'm going to do that very quickly. And you want to make sure, again, you're not overlapping your spine, little spine areas. So make sure once you glue these down that everything is moving freely and properly after you glue. That way you can move it when you still have time to move it. This cover on. It goes almost all the way to the edge. It's a slightly smaller than the outside panel. Then this will fold down over top. Make sure everything folds well there. Checking my fold here, that looks good. And then same thing for this one. These panels don't really have a top or a bottom, so you can just kind of attach them however you like. Center that up and then make sure, again, everything folds up nicely, and it does. Now I've got an inside panel for this decorative flap. I'm going to glue that on. This is about the same size as the flap. I didn't want to leave like a weak edge around, since that's kind of a high traffic area. You're grabbing it and opening and closing. So it goes all the way to the edge. If you find that you have a little white poking out after, you can just hit that with some distress ink or trim it off. And I've got just a little bit poking out. I wanted that to be nice and secure. Once the glue is dry, I'll give that a trim and just neaten it up a little bit. Now you could leave it like this, but I wanted a pop of color in mine to have this kind of patchwork little strips. This is also going to just add a little more sturdiness to the spines. So I'm going to glue these strips in right down the center of each of those spine areas. This is optional. I love color and I wanted to pop a color in there, so I kind of went with it. Now we're ready to start adding the interactive elements to the inside. There is a waterfall that goes on this page. There are 4 waterfall panels. I've already folded over the tops of these and given them a good crease. So I've got 4 panels, and there are 4 pockets that go on these panels. I'm going to put these on before I put them into the folio. They do kind of match up, certain ones with certain ones. However, there's not a rule that says you have to do that. You could absolutely kind of shuffle them up and mix and match. But the reason I'm putting the pockets on first is so I can then decide what order I want them in. That way, if you decide to mix them up and then put them in, you can kind of variegate these a little bit. So these pockets go on with just a quick little line of glue on 3 sides, nice and thin, and then put it right on the bottom of the waterfall piece. And I'm going to repeat that for all 3 of these. All right, my pockets are on, and now I'm going to decide what order these are going to go in. There's a couple that are pink, so I want to break those up a bit, maybe something like that. And then these are going to insert right in here, and the space between them is the same space as that tab, so you can kind of get an idea of how that's going to look. And I'm going to glue it in right in the center like that. So I'm going to take the one that I want on the top. I'm going to put glue right along this tab, the tan printed part of the waterfall card, pocket up, and then I'm going to glue this in. I'm going to center it up, and it's going to go as straight as possible, as centered as possible, right about there. You've got like these decorative corners, and it's going to go right about there. That should get everything right about in the center. I'm going to smooth that down really well. Take the next one in my order and repeat that process. And then this one is just going to snug right up to the tab on that one. And then I'm going to check and make sure that everything is straight. That's the trickiest part. Is it all straight? Sometimes cuts get a little off, and it is pretty good. And then repeat that for the next two waterfall pieces. At this point, while everything is still wet, I'm just going to go through and check and make sure they're lined up nicely, that everything's laying okay, and I can still kind of slide these around and make adjustments, and they look pretty good. That one was a little off, but there we go, not too bad. Now we're going to move on to this big flip up. This flip up has an envelope. I did print this envelope in cardstock. Again, it has instructions on all of the pages. I've scored it so it looks like this. And I'm just going to glue this flap up. If you wanted to make a little thumb hole cutout, either a little V with scissors or punch with a circle punch, that would be a great addition to this. But I left it straight so that you can kind of make your own decision on how you wanted this envelope to function. I'm going to go right like that. Now, since I printed this out of cardstock, this little guy wants to pop open. I'm going to use a Velcro closure to kind of hold that down at the end when I get to the decorating of my folio. And then this envelope is going to get glued on, centered right about there. You can glue it on just 3 sides, 1, 2, 3, if you'd like to have an additional tuck spot. I'm going to glue this all the way down. Next, we're going to flip this up, and we've got 2 more surfaces to work on here. Let's start with the top of this flip up panel. There are these little drawers, and this is going to be a tuck that goes to one side. If you want to make sure it's right side up, there's a little highlight on the knobs on the drawers, and it goes upward. So it's going to go to one side, but we're going to glue it in the middle also. So I'm going to glue along 3 sides. And then I can kind of see through this. I can just get some glue. If you can put a little light behind it, there's some wiggle room here, but you want to glue along this area here. 1, 2. And that's going to make 3 pockets in this tuck. And then I'm going to position it on the left-hand side of the flap. You could leave this as one big open tuck if you want, but I have 3 tags that kind of go with this kit, and they fit really nicely in there. So if you want to do that, then you'll want to put the glue right along these areas as well. And then for this panel, I have 2 corner pockets. They both have flaps. We've got flowers and then this cat. And again, I've printed these out of cardstock. I like how sturdy everything is once everything is printed out of the cardstock. So those are the directions that I included. And this is going to go all the way to the bottom corner. Try to get that straight. There we go. Nestles just right down there. And then this one will do the same. right like that. The final piece I'm going to give instructions on is just brief instructions. There is a mini journal to go inside of this folio. Let me tuck that to the side. And it had the instructions to print the pages front and back. These are little mini pages. So I'm going to fold these in half. I did specify which ones to print on the backs of others, but you can be chaotic if you want to and just print 3 and then flip them over and print 3 on the other side. I just wanted to make it clear that these get printed front and back. I did not ink around the edge of these. I might come back and do that, but I'm not sure. Now this one with the cottage is the cover. So you have a little mini book. And I'm just going to tuck it in like this for now, but I'm probably going to come back when I decorate this and put some embroidery floss, maybe poke a hole and wrap some embroidery floss or tie some ribbon or something like that around it. You could staple, you could do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, anything you want. But this is going to fit right in here like that. And this is the completed folio. I am going to grab all of my ephemera pieces. I'm going to tuck them in, maybe do a little bit of decorating, add some closures, and then I'll be back with a little flip through.